The busy weekend crowd at Westfield Mall parted around a wobbling figure, a curly-haired toddler wandering completely alone among distracted shoppers. Officer Parker approached carefully, crouching to the child's level to ask about her parents. The little girl's response was just 3 words long. His hand moved to his radio before she had even finished speaking. If you'd like to hear more stories like this one, consider subscribing and turning on notifications. The mall was packed that Saturday afternoon. Bodies moved in every direction as the weekend shopping frenzy hit its peak at Westfield Mall. For Officer David Parker, this was just another routine patrol. After 15 years on the force, these mall assignments had become predictable, checking in with store owners, helping lost shoppers find their way, and occasionally dealing with shoplifters trying their luck. Officer Parker methodically scanned the crowd as he walked. The familiar sights and sounds of commerce surrounded him. Teenagers laughing by the fountain, parents struggling with shopping bags, the constant hum of conversation mixed with music from various stores. He had seen it all before. Nothing ever really changed. As he passed the bustling food court, something unusual caught his trained eye. Against the orderly chaos of human traffic, a small figure moved in an erratic pattern. Where everyone else had purpose and direction, this tiny form wobbled unsteadily, invisible to the adults rushing past. A little girl, barely reaching the waists of the shoppers around her, was navigating the crowd completely alone. Officer Parker immediately altered his course. Years of experience told him something wasn't right. No parent would allow a child this young to wander freely in such a crowded place. The little girl couldn't have been more than 2 years old, yet there she was, somehow making her way through the sea of legs and shopping bags with determined focus. He approached carefully, mindful not to frighten her. Dropping to one knee to appear less intimidating, Officer Parker studied the child more closely. She wore pink overalls decorated with some cartoon character he couldn't quite place. Her curly hair had been styled into uneven pigtails that were starting to come loose. But what truly struck him was her expression. Not fearful or distressed as most lost children would be, but oddly resolute, as if she were on a mission. Officer Parker spoke gently to the child, asking where her parents were. His voice was calm and reassuring, the tone he had perfected over years of dealing with lost children at the mall. Usually this question would trigger tears, or at least some sign of confusion. Not this time. The little girl locked eyes with him, her gaze unnervingly steady for someone so young. She responded with 3 simple words that made Officer Parker instantly alert. Her mommy was sleeping, she told him. Something in the way she said it, the tone, the seriousness in her eyes, triggered Officer Parker's instincts. This wasn't a child talking about nap time. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up as his mind quickly processed what this might actually mean. Without hesitation, his hand moved to his radio. He called dispatch, his voice low but urgent. He requested immediate backup and mentioned the possibility of needing medical assistance. The dispatcher acknowledged his call as Officer Parker gave his exact location in the mall and a brief description of the situation. A toddler, approximately 2 years old, alone, who indicated her mother was sleeping somewhere in the mall. Officer Parker stayed with the little girl while they waited, noticing how tightly she clutched a small stuffed rabbit. The toy was well-loved, its fur matted from countless hugs. He tried asking her name, but she seemed more interested in looking around, as if checking if they were still in the right place. Within minutes, 2 more officers arrived, faces serious as they took in the situation. They spread out to question nearby shoppers, showing a photo Officer Parker had quickly taken of the child on his phone. Had anyone seen this little girl with an adult? Did anyone notice a woman who might be in distress? While his colleagues worked the crowd, Officer Parker turned his attention back to the toddler. Could she show him where her mommy was? He kept his voice light, making it sound like a game rather than the potentially serious situation it was. The little girl nodded, her pigtails bobbing with the movement. Without hesitation, she began walking, her small legs moving with surprising purpose. Officer Parker followed closely, ready to catch her if she stumbled in the crowd. He noticed how confidently she navigated, as if she had memorized the path. They moved past colorful storefronts, through groups of teenagers, around strollers and shopping bags. The child never hesitated, even as they left the main shopping area and headed toward a quieter section of the mall. She led him directly to the back hallway where the restrooms were located. The corridor was quieter here, away from the shopping areas. The little girl stopped outside the women's restroom door, pointing insistently. Her mommy was in there, she indicated. Officer Parker immediately understood the situation. He couldn't enter the women's restroom himself, but this could be an emergency. He spotted a female security guard nearby and quickly explained the situation. The woman nodded, understanding the urgency, and entered the restroom while Officer Parker remained outside with the child. Less than a minute later, the security guard's voice crackled urgently over Officer Parker's radio. Her tone alone told him everything he needed to know before she even spoke. She had found a woman unconscious in the last stall and was requesting paramedics immediately. The next few minutes unfolded in controlled chaos. Emergency response protocols kicked in as paramedics rushed to the scene with their equipment. Officer Parker stayed with the little girl, positioning himself to block her view of the commotion. He spoke softly to her, praising her bravery, while keeping a close eye on the situation unfolding. The paramedics emerged from the restroom with a woman on a stretcher. She was pale, her dark hair a stark contrast against her ashen skin. Her lips had a bluish tinge that the medical professionals were viewing with obvious concern. They worked quickly, attaching monitoring equipment and preparing her for transport. One of the paramedics approached Officer Parker, explaining what they had found. The woman had been identified as Jessica Morales, 28 years old, from the ID in her purse. The contents of her bag had also revealed empty prescription bottles for epilepsy medication. The paramedics' assessment was grim but hopeful. They had found her just in time. Even 15 minutes later could have meant a very different outcome. While the paramedics prepared to transport Jessica to the hospital, social services arrived to temporarily care for the little girl, now identified as Sophia. Officer Parker helped make the transition as smooth as possible, ensuring Sophia that her mommy was going to be okay and that these nice people would take care of her until her mommy felt better. As Sophia left with the social worker, still clutching her stuffed rabbit, Officer Parker couldn't stop thinking about what had just happened. This tiny child, barely old enough to speak in complete sentences, had somehow understood that her mother needed help. She had managed to leave the bathroom, navigate through a crowded shopping mall, and seek out the right kind of assistance. It was remarkable. 2 weeks later, Officer Parker was at his desk, completing paperwork, when the station desk sergeant informed him he had visitors. Looking up, he was surprised to see Jessica Morales standing there, looking healthy and vibrant, holding Sophia's hand. In their other hands were containers of what appeared to be homemade cookies. Jessica explained that she had made a full recovery at the hospital. The doctors had confirmed she'd suffered a severe epileptic seizure. That morning, in her rush to complete weekend errands, she had forgotten to take her medication. The seizure had come on suddenly in the mall bathroom, with Sophia as the only witness. What amazed Jessica most, she admitted, was that she had never specifically taught Sophia to find police if something happened. The child had somehow understood the severity of the situation and taken action. Jessica wiped away tears as she shared that her doctors had been clear. Without the rapid medical response that Sophia had initiated, Jessica could have suffered permanent brain damage or worse. Officer Parker knelt down to Sophia's level once more, this time under much happier circumstances. He presented her with a small police badge sticker, telling her she was the bravest little officer he had ever met. Sophia's face lit up with a grin as she pointed excitedly to his real badge, seemingly fascinated by the shiny metal. The story of Sophia's heroism spread throughout the police department and eventually to local news. What began as 3 simple words from a toddler had set in motion a chain of events that saved a young mother's life. It served as a powerful reminder that heroes don't always come in the packages we expect. Sometimes they're just tiny humans in pink overalls with uneven pigtails and a stuffed rabbit. When faced with a crisis, would you know what to do? And what would you teach your children about responding to emergencies?